What's up, everybody? Today we have an AMA at 10 a.m. Our draw will actually be at 11 a.m. today, so that's 11 p.m. in the Philippines. It's a little bit later than usual, but that's to make sure that everybody sticks around for the AMA. It is a Legends of Venari AMA. I'm really excited to have our guy on here with us. Welcome to the stream. I'm so glad to have you here. We're gonna be talking about Legends of Venari today. We're really excited as a community to be on board. I mean, our community is getting really hype about this game already, and we're really looking forward to the sale. So why don't we start with just a general explanation of, which I've already given them, but just to hear it from you, like a general explanation of Legends of Venari and, what we can expect to see, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. I think you explained a lot better than I can, really. But for Legends of Venari, it's going to be a blockchain-based game. So it's a creature collection game. The gameplay is going to be quite similar to Pokemon Go, if you ever played that. But there's not going to be. And it's just really interesting to see like where everyone is later on. For example, some might choose to focus their efforts on catching certain creatures versus other creatures, and there'll be a lot of like competitiveness as well added to it. So that's where we're thinking of starting. It's going to be really polished creature collection game to start, and then depending on community feedback, we'll go either more into like a battle system, open world. That's really up to where we want to prioritize our efforts, along with like getting feedback from the community. But yeah, just to reiterate, it's really early alpha, really early. We're just getting started, so just like we want to make a good first impression.
Right. Okay. And okay, so let's ask some questions about kind of like the creature capturing, and you said focus your efforts. So is there going to be like, let's say, like, I don't know, different zones where like different kinds of creatures will spawn, so I can be like, all right, I want to stay in this zone because these type of creatures spawn here? How does that work? How do you...
Yeah, so we're really thinking deep in terms of actual gameplay, making it fun and rewarding. So one of the things that we're thinking about is even inside Tecta, like the first blue map area, there's going to be different areas. For example, maybe like a sewer area, maybe like a city area. So just having the ability to explore within Tecta and seeing like the different creatures find there. Of course, you might need to like reach a certain level to reach certain waypoints within the same area. But yeah, just going to be a lot of progression. But also, it's also like we're gonna introduce a lot of different factors involved into catching these creatures. For example, there might be like day-night modes. There might be like faction-exclusive creatures, event creatures. So you really gotta like stay on top of things if you want to catch a certain creature. Just making sure like you're always involved in the game. So it's kind of like mini drops in this sense. So like maybe like every week there'll be like a mini drop, something like that.
Okay. and so will it be like you click on, like, you choose which area you're going to be, and then you put the lure down, I guess, and then the creatures will start coming?
So we're still really finalizing the details of the gameplay, but how we envision it currently is, you'll set down what's called bait. So bait can attract different creatures, and certain bait might have a different cooldown. For example, like a weak bait might have like a 5-minute cooldown. Ultra rare bait might have like a 24-hour cooldown.
Okay.
And it's just about this aspect of when you get the bait, there's going to be some kind of mini game involved, I would say. We're still thinking about the actual gameplay aspects of it to make it more engaging, where it's not just like, okay, I set a bait down, I catch a creature, and that's it, right? So we really want to have different aspects involved. So one of the things is, if you ever played like the Safari game and certain Pokemon games, so it's just like, maybe you can throw a rock at it, or like you could do something. So just like once you figure out what kind of like the creatures can like their traits. For example, some creatures might be easier to catch if you throw a ton of rocks at it. It's just
Right.
like once you figure that out, you'll be able to catch these creatures a lot easier.
Very cool. Okay. And like we had spoken briefly about it, and different colors will have like essentially like different rarities and things like that. So
Yeah.
So will the rarer creatures essentially be more difficult to capture? Is that how it's envisioned, or will
Yeah,
it...
very very good question.
Okay.
So we probably will have different tiers. I'm not exactly sure if we want to be upfront about it. I really like the idea of just having these different colors, but it's just like you don't know if it's rare or not.
Right.
It's really up to like the community to figure out that aspect. But yeah, we definitely plan on having it so it's just like certain colors will be more rare than others in terms of like capturing aspect. That's something we're still not sure about.
Okay.
Of course, it could be like certain colors will be. Going back a bit, we have what's called elements evolved in the game. So just like certain elements have a certain color associated, right? And you have like fire is more like a red kind of creature.
Right.
Water is more like a blue kind of creature. So when we're envisioning it, one of the things that we kind of thought about, of course, this might not be in the game at all. It's just like we're still thinking about like the core game aspects. But for example, there might be like a diamond-looking creature. Like we can adjust the textures accordingly, and that might be like a combination of like fire, water, and like a whole bunch of other elements, just to like increase like the rarity and odds of it.
Sounds very cool. Okay. And I like. Is there going to be like a weakness system? You know what I mean? Like fire stronger than, or sorry, water beats fire and fire beats grass. Is there going to be something like that going on?
Most likely, probably. I mean, like that's probably in most games. We'll probably have something similar involved, just to like make sure like the gameplay is balanced in the sense. So yeah, we'll probably have some kind of system like that. It really depends on like how we want to like balance the gameplay afterwards. Right now we're focusing on like the collection aspect first.
Okay. See, this sounds like all kinds of fun, and I personally am definitely going to be playing myself as well.
Awesome.
So we have a question here. Is it going to be available on mobile? And I think I can answer that. The plan is for it to be available, like ported to mobile eventually, but at the start it is going to be PC only. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm surprised we get this question quite often. It seems like a lot of people really love like mobile gaming, and it's something that we were thinking we're open to doing for sure. It's something that we're definitely like planning on doing if there's enough demand. How we design our systems, for example, like the off-chain gameplay, the way we're authenticating users with just like an alpha pass, it allows us to move to mobile really easily. But yeah, it's just really interesting to see that there's so much like demand for mobile. So like if there is, like we'll build it for sure.
We have a majority. Like a majority of our player base is basically mobile only, and a lot of our players are saving to buy PCs with the money they're making from other play-to-earn games. But in developing countries in general, majority of the people we have a lot of scholars between Philippines, Vietnam, and South America, and the majority of the players are mobile only. We do have a large player base that does have PCs. Like when we're doing our giveaways on our Yaz extension, which is we give away NFTs on our stream. Yeah. So we usually get somewhere about 20 to 25% of our viewers have PCs, and many are working towards that. But again, yeah, like on mobile with a mobile port, we could get thousands and thousands of us involved basically.
Got it.
And I think everybody would really love that. So let's see. what is Legends of Venari? Did you miss that? We started with that question. Let's see, guys. Why don't we grab some? Why don't we grab some questions from the stream here, guys? You guys can go ahead and start asking questions, and I will pick the questions that I like. So, is there a difference between those who spent a lot and those who spent average or scholars? So, that's a really good question, and I think I can take that one as well. No, there will not be. It's not the kind of game where you can come in and just, you know, be a whale and buy everything up and be at the top of the game like a lot of these other, you know, like play to earn opportunities that focus on, I guess, just like feeding the whales instead of essentially the gameplay and growing the community and economy like that. So it's going to be based on what is the building that you level up? What was that called?
Yeah, so we have rigs.
Right.
That's mainly used to catch these creatures. So, and that's a good question too. It's just like when you start off the game, your account is going to be level 1. You could like buy a really rare creature, but your account is still going to be level 1. So we really want to enforce the idea about this really earnable aspect to it, where it's just like everyone has progression in this game, and whether you're playing for the first time or you're like a super whale, you gotta start at the same level as everyone else.
Right. Which is really cool. That puts everybody on the same footing, and the only advantage, guys, that you can get here is by getting in with these alpha passes and starting to play before other people. That will be like how you get ahead of the game, basically. You know what I mean? And catch cooler, higher level creatures and different creatures and things like that. So that's really, really interesting. Now, how does play to earn work in the game? At the start, at the, like, you know, a baseline right now, basically, you're just catching creatures, and you'll be able to sell them on marketplace, but there is no like coin for the game as of yet. Essentially, guys, when Axie started, for instance, it was basically just lines of code that you breed with Ethereum. You know what I mean? There was no SLP, there was no AXS, there was none of that. That wasn't involved in the game. These are all things that developed in the future. And from what we've spoken about, there is going to be a coin, there's going to be an earning aspect to the game, of course, but that is as the game develops, and that will all come into play. You know, you could actually see it listed on the roadmap actually for the game as well. So that will be part of the game eventually. But at the start, what you're getting is like the opportunity to build up your rigs and build up your farm of creatures, and that's gonna put you really ahead when it comes down to it. And the creatures as well, being able to sell them on OpenSea is gonna be really amazing. Eventually there's gonna be a marketplace as well. But at the start, the best part about this, guys, the best part about a scholarship with Legends of Venari right now is that as a scholar, we're not taking anything. You know what I mean? Like you are basically helping us and the game grow, and the reward that you're getting is that like you have these untaxed creatures. Basically, it's almost like having your own alpha pass at this point. You know what I mean? When you get this alpha pass scholared off to you, so it's a really big deal. Well, that's a good question right there. Is there energy in Legends of Venari, and how much time per day can you spend playing the game?
Yeah, that's a good question. We really want to focus our efforts on stopping bots. For example, whenever there's play to earn mechanics involved, we don't want someone who bots to have an unfair advantage, right? Otherwise, our game will just be filled with bots, and that's no fun for everyone.
Right.
So that's why we did implement an energy-based system. We wanted to do it in a way so that like an active player can play quite reasonably, but also it just avoids botting behavior as well. So our initial thoughts are maybe something like 10 energy, and the refillable time to get the 10 energy is 10 hours. So 10 energy per 10 hours. And what you can do with the energy, we're thinking is like to travel, to check your bait, just like the core actions in the game. So it's just like you could just log on every 10 hours, just like play for a couple minutes, and then like restock, right? It's just like this definitely avoids like the botting behavior.
Right.
And that, I think that's what we're really trying to do. It's just like make it fun and enjoyable without like the but it's also like so for a bot, right? You could like build a bot out where you just like constantly check, but you don't know exactly like what you're gonna check for. So we have a lot of hidden info, and the people who actually understand the game and play the game, they're gonna have more information than whoever is creating the bot. So that's what we're really looking for.
Okay, that's great. So that's I mean that's really important. You know, we don't want the market, even you know when a play to earn mechanic comes out, we don't want the market just oversaturated with bots that are doing, you know what I mean, just free farming basically. It is about like to build value in any kind of play to earn economy. The player's time has to be invested, and if the bots are what's investing the time, then that's just going to essentially tank it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really good to hear that there's going to be a big focus on that. This is a good question. Okay, actually, do the creatures themselves level up?
Yeah, we definitely hope that they level up. We probably want to incorporate some kind of like burning, because when you're catching a lot of these creatures in the very beginning, they're gonna like be kind of like the fodder creatures in other games. It's just like you'll probably like stack a lot of these weaker creatures up, and we probably want some way of having a level up system. So incorporating that in terms of like maybe you like burn the creatures, you get like level ups for other creatures, something like that. We still haven't thought about like the exact details. Maybe we want to like incorporate like when you burn a specific creature, maybe it has like some special bonus HP stat. So just like when you level up the creature, you can like build the creature that you want, so it'll be more HP focused. You could build like a tank, for example.
Cool. Glass cannon and things like that.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
Cool.
So
Very
just
cool.
like we're still thinking about the details about that, but just like we're getting somewhere on that front. Yeah.
I love that actually. That's very cool. And will the creatures reset in level? Like if there's been any thought for this once they're sold to another player? Or will they retain?
Yeah, I mean, like if we do incorporate some kind of like burning mechanism, I highly doubt like we're gonna reset the level.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we'll reset it.
I love the idea of being able to, you know, have the same creature, same element as somebody else, but built completely differently. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an amazing concept there. I really love that. Is there any battle?
Yeah, I mean, like we're really focusing on the customization of the creature. It's just like your creature should be special to you.
Right.
You build it however you want, and each creature should be unique in their own way.
Of course. Yeah. I love that. That's actually awesome. I'm gonna spam out the website. I want to get as many people, guys. Remember, to be part of today's scholarship giveaway for Legends of Venari, you're going to need to follow the Discord, follow the Twitch, follow the Twitter, or not the Twitch, but the Twitter and the Instagram would be helpful as well. Let's get as much support as we can out there for them, okay? Let's see. Is there ways of entering the game other than the alpha passes? No. So the alpha passes are like the, let's call them like the mystic axie of the game, kind of thing like that. The way you enter the game is the alpha passes will create more passes. Now as the alpha pass holder, which is, you know, BGG, when the alpha pass creates more passes, those passes will come to us and we'll scholar them off to other players. So that's that's how the game itself will grow, and that's how also like there won't be just this, you know, massive influx of players that oversaturate the market before there's a chance to even implement any kind of burn mechanics and things like that. So that's a very important factor here. Is there any battle or tournaments? So there is going to be battling. What kind of battling is not decided yet, but the community will be able to help towards their decision on which route they're going to take. Pokemon style battler.
I love that too. I love that too.
But yeah, that's a great question, and I'm certain that, you know, I don't know if the game itself will be hosting tournaments for Legends of Venari, but like as a community, we would most definitely be hosting tournaments and things like that. Similar to how we've hosted Axie tournaments, we would most definitely ourselves be hosting tournaments, and we'll see where the Venari team takes that, you know, competitive portion of the game as well. Is there any thoughts into like an MMR system?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, for example, I think it really depends on the kind of gameplay, right? Like if it's a PvP gameplay that we're focusing on, yeah, for sure, we'll probably have some kind of MMR matchmaking system.
Right.
If we're more focused on like an open world, more like, for example, like if we just shove like Pokemon Go straight onto like your browser and like you walk around, probably not like an MMR system, but more like more PvE, more like PvP, but probably not like a MMR system. So it really depends on like what kind of like battle system we go for, and how competitive we want it.
Okay, that sounds good. Now I got a good question here that I think I can hit this one too. The concept of the base passes are inflationary by design. That's correct. Does this mean that players with alpha passes can mint unlimited number of base passes? No, that's not what it means. So each alpha pass is encoded with the ability to create between 1 and 7 more passes. Okay, so that's like the other passes that come after that will mint like more passes. So essentially, it's not going to be just alpha passes minting unlimited passes and nobody else can. It's actually going to be, I guess, like levels of passes, and the alpha passes themselves mint new passes faster. And you know, let's say like a tier 2 pass or whatever, like what is the name for like the pass that comes out of the alpha pass?
Yeah, so we really have like 3 different kinds of passes. So we have like gilded passes, and there's going to be only like 100 of each faction to have like the gilded pass. It'll probably be like gold, and it'll probably be special in a way. Then we have like the alpha pass, so there's like 3,750 in total. And then the one that comes after that is all going to be base passes. So those are like the standard like tickets to enter the game.
Right. And like, are the base passes going to be also have the ability to mint between 1 and 7, or is each base pass only able to mint 1? How does that work?
Yeah. So we're definitely thinking of like probably a lot lower limit.
Okay.
Probably like 1, if any, and it'll probably take a lot longer time.
Right. So
I think it really depends on like, we want to see how the community grows. For example, what's like the lifespan of a player, right? If it's like 1 month is too long for the average player, we might move it to like 2 weeks, for example.
Right.
It's just like we need to see our data first before like rushing to anything.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so what are we going to be doing about gas fees in Legends of Venari? How do we, is there, like they're asking, is there some kind of like Ronin style wallet?
Yeah.
Right. So what's the take on that?
Yeah, so for us, we are, I guess I'm pretty biased in terms of like layer 2 solutions. I really like layer 1.
Okay.
So that's why our passes are layer 1. In terms of actual gameplay, everything's off chain. So you don't have to worry about gas fees there. It's mainly about the tradability aspect of these creatures, right? Like, for example, you earn a creature, how are you able to sell it on like a open market, right? So one of the ways we were thinking about is optionally minting it on OpenSea to start. So that would probably take quite a bit of gas. For example, you need to like transfer the creature over to OpenSea, then you have to like make a listing. So that's probably step 1 in our process. But then we probably want to create our own marketplace, right? That's where we allow a lot more players access to this marketplace without like the additional fees. How we're going to design it, we're thinking of just building it in such a way so that the users still own their assets at the end of the day, and then they can like submit bids on layer 1, for example, just through ETH, and then they can trade amongst themselves there. The other way we can go about it is with a more centralized approach. But I think holding other people's ETH is something we want to not do. So that's why we're more focused on just building something like OpenSea, but more so like the fees itself go to Alpha Pass holders that go back to the game through, for example, like if we have any tournaments, some of the fees may go there.
Right.
So that's where we're thinking.
Okay. And like the marketplace that you guys are going to design, will that have the same, I guess, like deficiencies as like OpenSea with the, you know, we're subject to gas fees per trade, or how will that work?
Yeah. So if we it would probably take less gas actually, because a lot of the times the NFTs itself are just stored on our server, right? They aren't actually minted.
Right.
There's no need if we're only focusing on the trading aspect of it. You only want to like mint these creatures if you want them to show up on your wallet, or if you want to like trade them at the end of the day. So in terms of gas fees, I would say it's a lot less. It would be probably just one transaction to say if someone's willing to list it at a certain price, you'll just click buy and then you'll like buy it from them. So that's how we're thinking of the system.
Okay.
For our marketplace. But then if we want to implement something like if there was like an auction, if there was something like that, then we need like ownership of the asset. So it will probably be a lot more centralized by design, but it might be a lot better user experience. So it's just like the pros and cons of what we're thinking in terms of like the end user.
I mean, I don't see you know, having a like a more centralized kind of game. I don't see that as like a negative thing at all. The assets are still owned by the user, and I've actually had this discussion. I had a meeting with the CFO of Kira Systems, actually, who's really interested in NFTs, and his take on it basically was like, why does everything need to be on the blockchain? Why does all the gameplay need to be on the blockchain? At the end of the day, if there's a fair centralized entity that's taking care of that, you're basically at the same place. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't.
That's exactly how I think too. It's just like you're trusting the game developers, right? At the end of the day, like we could change one line of code and like all of your creatures could like turn into whatever you want, but it's just like you're trusting us to make sure like the game is fair, to make sure like we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
And I think that's really important.
I mean, like we're trusting the team and the developers by getting involved in the game to start with. You know what I mean? So what difference does it really make if it's more centralized or all on the blockchain, right? At the end of the day, you still own your assets and you're still able to do what you want with them. You can mint them to your wallet. You can sell them where you feel. You know what I mean? So I think that's very important. And I think that's a good thing to go over to, and you know, my opinion on that is I think we share the same opinion on that.
Yeah, pretty much.
and basically everybody that I've spoken to who's looking at NFT gaming from like an outside perspective feels the same way. There's a lot of people who are very biased in the fact that it's like, oh no, it has to be like fully decentralized and whatever. But that's not a truth. That's not a truth. So.
Yeah.
So, can we ask the minimum PC requirements for the game?
Yeah, I mean, if you can load YouTube, you can probably play our game. Okay. Yeah, we just load a couple of small videos so it should be fairly low requirements.
So basically, you'll be able to play it on a toaster if you want to, guys. That's what we're talking about here. Can you tell us more about the factions?
Yeah. Actually, I can probably share with you like our leak, you know, like the sales page.
Right.
I could share with you like the link, and then we could like go over each faction more closely there.
Let's do that.
So just give me 1 second and pull up the link. So this is our Alpha Pass sale website. It's like an early leak, I guess, but you'll probably see this on Saturday or Sunday. So there's 3 factions. Tala, that's the red one. Vestal, the green one, and Azul, which is like the blue one. So you'll like flip between all of them. And if you go down a bit, you'll probably see more details about the faction. Yeah, so these are like the faction exclusive creatures, like the mascots per se. So like if you own like the Tala Alpha Pass, we might have like a way to get this specific creature. And same for Vestal and Azul. So if you like click the arrows, you'll be able to like switch between those three.
And they are just fabulous looking character models. I love it. So what's the differences between them in terms of like, is there any other differences other than like the ability to catch these base creatures?
Yeah, so I mean, we do have some lore associated with it, just like whatever you're feeling. For example, Tala is more about power and striving to do everything they can to make sure to leverage the creature themselves. Vestal is more about like creature collection, rarity, and making sure like more peace. And then, for example, Azul is more focused on like the actual what's like the technology aspects of it. So making sure like all the numbers are right, making sure like you're optimized for everything, stuff like that. So we have some kind of like lore associated with it. And then other than that, we do plan on having a lot more like faction exclusive based events and competitions in the future. But to start in the game, just something simple would be faction exclusive creatures that we can add. Of course, we'll add a lot more events afterwards.
Okay, and I remember like we had a brief discussion of like kind of what these factions could entail, and like maybe in Pokemon Go they have like the battles over like certain spots and things like that, right? Like now this faction owns this spot, and like something like that.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of like being able to like defend a post. You know, like if we were able to like go to like an open world route, we could have like user-based land, something like a defending post to like earn some kind of like token. So it's just like we have interesting mechanics that we can play with. But yeah, I love the ideas.
And that just sounds like a lot of fun. Like honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Let's see. Do you get it random or do you choose? So you do choose which Alpha Pass you want to purchase, but
if you go scroll up a bit, you can like click the button to see what the flow is like.
Do I have to have the MetaMask installed on this to be able to
No, it shouldn't be. Just click like the blue button.
Here?
Wait, maybe you have to have... Oh yeah, you probably need to connect your wallet. Yeah.
Okay, I don't actually have MetaMask installed on this computer.
Oh, okay, no worries. No worries then.
Computer. Yeah. But so let me dive into that question a little bit more. When I have an Alpha Pass of a certain faction, is that Alpha Pass only able to produce base passes of that same faction?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you are a Venari Alpha Pass holder, you'll produce Venari base passes. So every pass does have a faction associated with it.
Very cool. Okay, so that's kind of like how they'll all grow simultaneously at, at the same rate. Right. Okay. Very cool. Please do let the mobile users join this raffle. Mobile users can join the raffle. We give out 2. We give out 1 scholarship through the stream by like spamming NFT, and we give out 1 through the Yaz extension, which is only PC at the moment, but is being worked on for mobile as well. So if it's going to be like a Pokemon or something MMO, how can it determine who will attack first in battle? Is there like a Pokemon where you use speed boost items and blah 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 blah? So none of that's been decided, I guess. But like from what we've been talking about, I can just make the presumption that the faster creature will be the one that attacks first if there was a combat system. And what we had talked about, Ken, earlier was that you'll be able to potentially like burn creatures into other creatures, and that will like certain creatures might give HP boost, or certain creatures might give speed boost, certain creatures might give attack boost, and that will help you customize your creature the way that you want to, which is really fucking cool. So that's going to be really great. Can you have 2 factions?
Uh,
don't think so, right?
So you can have like multiple alpha passes, right? But when you activate an alpha pass on your account, what that means is you activate the faction for your account as well. So for example, for the first month, you activate like the Azul alpha pass.
Right.
Once that time runs out, you might have like the Tala alpha pass, and then you can activate it with that. So that's how you would probably like switch factions.
Switch factions. Okay, so that's cool. Like if you're not happy with your faction, you could maybe buy or trade or whatever your pass for somebody else's. And is there any duo battles? Well, there's no battle system as of yet, but you know, if that's something the community is really adamant on, I think the developers of the game are really want to hear what the community has to say. That's been the general consensus of everything that we've talked about, and that's a big reason why we're really excited to get involved with this team. So I wasn't able to hear, was discussed, how does an alpha pass produce base passes? Would it be something that's like breeding? So no, by playing the game, I can't, is it going to be like an experience bar or something, or how would?
Yeah, I would imagine it's something very simple. So probably like 1 month of gameplay would produce one alpha pass or one base pass. So it would be something like the number of energy used would probably like determine that. So something like really simple.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, that is like basically like a breeding mechanic almost. You know what I mean? Like it you know, creates more entry points to the game, which is really cool. You won't lose your exclusive pets on changing pass. That's a good question. So if I have, you know, this beautiful guy right here, and I change to Vestal or Azul, will I no longer be able to use him, or will I be able to use him still?
So every creature in the game is earned, right? So you won't get it to start. You'll just be able to have the opportunity to catch that specific creature if you own that specific faction.
Right, and once it's caught, though, it's mine, and I can change
exactly.
and take it with me, right? Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, when you lose your or when you deactivate your account, your account's still there. It's just like you can't catch any more creatures, essentially. Okay. So if you sell your alpha pass, your account's still there. Your NFTs are still there.
Right. Do you have to wait for the alpha pass to expire before changing factions, or will you be able to just be like, I don't want to be in this faction anymore, I'm going to activate a different pass? How would that work?
Yeah, so we do have a cooldown system. This is mainly to make sure that we avoid bots, right? Otherwise, people can make a million accounts and then like loop through everyone, you know, like
send the pass
activate and deactivate it. So that's why we want to have like the cooldown system in place.
That's well thought out, and that's important. You know what I mean? Like it would be essentially to the same effect as like somebody transferring their Axes to another account to use 20 energy, and then transferring it to another account to use 20 energy, and just keep cycling like that. So that makes perfect sense. Let me see. Ooh. Do we have like ruins or dungeons or anything that are planned for the game? I guess some kind of like PvE aspect.
Yeah, very interesting. I think the two ideas that my community has been thinking about is, one is like a PvE kind of like boss raid kind of system. I think that's pretty cool. The other one is like, if you ever played Puzzles and Dragons, some kind of like dungeon based system. That's also really cool.
Right.
But those go back into like what's the core game loop after just collection, right? And that's more focusing on the utility of the creatures. What can they actually do?
Right.
And yeah, I love those ideas. I love that aspect.
That sounds like both of those sound like a lot of fun, and I'm just so excited for this project. Is there going to be team battle? We went over that. We'll see where the community and the dev team takes it. But I feel like anything's on the table here, you know what I mean? Which is great. And a battle tower. Well, that's an interesting concept as well. Those are always fun. This is continually higher difficulty kind of staged battle towers. Those things like that are fun. Is there a name for every Venari or just an ID number? Oh.
Yeah, so every Venari does have like a name associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Pokemon, you know, you have like the Charmanders, the Bulbasaurs.
Right.
So yeah, every creature does have a name, but every creature is unique too. For example, um, we have what might be like an IV system. For example, if you like get a really lucky roll on a creature, you might get like the stats might start to glow for HP, attack, defense, and that's when you know like, oh shit, this is like a really rare statted creature. So there's like unique creatures even if they are the same.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where we
That,
wanted to
that's
differentiate.
awesome. Like that's
Yeah.
like so. Aside from the fact that you can build your creature the way that you want to, um, their base stats can also be different. So you
Yeah,
can,
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That is really really cool. Um, that is really cool. Okay. Is there any kind of event like a raid? I think we've gone over that. There, it seems like there is going to be things like that. Some kind of like potentially boss battles and things like that, where like the community can get together and earn prizes from, or who knows, maybe
Yeah,
even.
yeah, for sure.
Right. Oh, can the creatures evolve? That's interesting.
Yeah, so we did think about that quite a bit. I think the thing is we don't want to like copy Pokemon, right? I feel like a lot of these creature collection games, they have some kind of evolution mechanic to make it look like you're progressing, right?
Right.
But for us, it's more like we want to be different in a way. For example, we probably will have different ways of customizing the creature, but it might not look like evolution per se. For example, the auras might start to look different. For example, like the model might slightly shift, but
Okay.
not so much where it's like a completely different
Right.
creature.
It's not has evolved too, but like it's like okay,
Yeah.
maybe they'll have a different glow to them. Oh, this is a
Yeah, yeah.
speed based one, or this is a strength based one, or something like
Or
that.
or it's just like you might start to unlock like different animations for the creature, just like things to like make the creature more unique for you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Can we breed said creatures, or can we only catch them in the wild?
Yeah, so probably just catching them for now. Breeding, we're not sure about.
Right.
Um,
I mean, there's probably a lot to that. You know what I mean? Like there's
yeah,
a lot to think about when it comes to being able to catch and then breed creatures, especially with the fear of massive oversaturation in the market.
yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean? So.
Yeah.
For now, let's just say it's a creature capturing game. They cannot be bred, but again, we'll see. We'll see where the game goes. How many Venaris do you need to play PvP? Has that been thought of? That's a good question, actually. Is it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
But I also think that that has to do with what kind of like PvP combat system we do choose.
Right.
So I don't think there's an issue like there's for example, I would say most creatures are easily obtainable if you just like play the game. As long as you have a base pass, you can like catch some kind of creature to like play PvP or like play anything.
Right.
So that's kind of different like from Axes where you have to have like 3 creatures and it's just like each creature costs like a lot of money to earn.
Right.
But as for like the actual type of PvP battle, we still haven't thought about that in terms of like, okay, maybe it's just like a team of 3, team of 6. We're not sure about that.
Okay. That's cool. Um, there'd be, would there be any sort of like items in the game for the creatures, held items or anything like that, or would combat solely revolve around the creatures? I mean,
Yeah, that's a really good question actually.
yeah.
So right now, what we do have is not for the creatures themselves, but we do have some kind of like crafting mechanic that we plan on introducing.
Cool.
And that's more focused around when you catch a creature, it might drop loot, and then the loot can be crafted to form more rare rigs or more rare bait. So it's all focusing around the creature collection system to start because that's our core game loop, right? We want to be very polished around that first. When we do introduce a battle system, of course, we probably want to think about that in more detail. For example, items, yeah, that can definitely be added.
Okay, great. And this is a good question here. as you have more creatures or level your rig or whatever,
Mhm.
will your energy increase?
Yeah, so I definitely do think having account progression is important.
Right.
So, for example, as you progress through the game, as you go from like level 1 to level 10 or level 30, your energy would slightly increase. Your bag space will probably increase. Things like that. I think that makes perfect sense.
Okay. Has there been any thought into, for instance, like the in-game token that's like, you know, eventually to be designed, kind of thing like that? Has there been any thought into, like, is this a burning token, or is it a set kind of, you know, max supply token?
Yeah.
And what kind of utilities will that specific token will that have? You know, like somebody was asking, will you be able to roll random stats in exchange for in-game tokens or things like that? So
Yeah, I think we really have to be careful about how we implement our token. It's essentially going to be our premium currency, right? And one of the things is we really don't want to make it. I think it's really hard to make it not pay to win. You know, it's just like, for example, some of the times we might introduce something like, okay, you pay premium currency, you get like the energy back, you know, something like that, where it's just like so easy to do, but it's just like we have to be very careful about how we want to implement certain things.
Right.
The other thing is, for example, like bag space, you know, like premium currency can like have more bag space. Other things is like the real idea behind our thought process is we want to make it pay to flex if possible.
Okay.
So it's not like you're gonna get a ton of currency and you're gonna like win everything, but it's more like you get a ton of currency and you might have like a chance of getting a really cool creature, like something that's really like fancy, something you really are proud of that's like unique and rare,
Right.
but it's not going to be game breaking to the game. That's our thought process to start.
And has there been any thought into, like, for instance, you were saying, you know, more bag space and things like that? When that premium currency is spent, is it, again, like, is it burnt? Is it like a burnable token, or is it going to be more like the opposite?
Yeah. I guess that goes back into like the tokenomics of it. Probably it would be burned. It probably won't be like redistributed.
Right.
It's like, what's the use of like if like the company just like is a bank, you know, it just makes sense to like burn it.
Right. Okay. That's great. Okay. Let's see. I think, I mean, for the most part, it seems we've answered basically everything we can about the game. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we bring this to an end?
Very good question, actually. I think we touched on a lot of points, but I would like to reiterate that we are really early, right? We're just getting started with this, and when you ask a lot of these questions, to me, I really like these ideas too, and I don't have all the right answers, and I'm just like listening as we go on along, and just like at the beginning, when I started creating this game, I had an idea of like what I wanted to build. But it's really become a lot more than that when you actually get like the community involved and actually when there's stakeholders involved, right? And it's just about building this as a community, as a team, as I reiterated. And yeah, I mean, like I'm always open to ideas. I'm always open to feedback. I think even in our Discord, we have a lot of like community voting. For example, one of the votes is what kind of creature do you want next in the game? So we had a poll. I think bear is leading right now. So we'll probably have like a bear kind of creature in the future. So it's really about making sure that your voice is being heard. Because it's not about us. It's not about like the company right now. And a lot of people have some great ideas. So yeah, we just want to take that into account.
I love it. Is there possible for a foster system where you can ask
Fosters
them to take care of your Venari? Or it's a cool idea. I mean,
yeah, I'm always open to it.
but I think, again, guys, like, for the scholar ability of the game, like for like to scholar in the game, you need to have alpha passes or base passes basically, and those passes will produce more passes. You know, maybe the base pass will only be able to produce one or whatever, but then the base pass that you created will also be able to produce another. So by playing the game, you'll be able to scholar people into the game basically. How many alpha access can one person have? I believe that was you said it was is it one per person per whitelist, or was it three?
So I'm not sure about the question, but for the sale, you can only buy one for the pre-sale and up to 3 in the main sale per transaction.
Okay.
Um,
So basically, the idea here, guys, is that there isn't some whale that comes in and scoops up all the Mystic Axes and sells them for $80,000 a piece because nobody can play the game otherwise. You know, that's great. You know, that's very important. All right, is there? Oh, that's a good question too. Do you guys have any terms of service that would stop minors from being able to play your game?
For minors to play the game? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's an issue.
Okay, because I mean that was one of the Axie TOS.
Oh, okay.
Actually, so it is.
Because we don't really like go off transactions, so it's mainly like the gameplay side is like separate.
Right. That's awesome. Okay, great. Okay, amazing. I think we've had. Oh, okay. If we have an account, is it okay where you log in with multiple devices, or you have an alpha pass, you have an account that's linked to that alpha pass? Can I share my account with my brother? Can I share my account with my sister? You know what I mean? I'm not able to play today. They're gonna log in on their device, or is that like a bannable offense? Has there been any thought put into that?
Yeah, very good question. I don't see a reason why we couldn't do that, but I would be very careful because a lot of the times it may look like botting behavior, and we probably will have some kind of mechanism to like ban people. I think that's a given, but it's just about how we want to implement that. Yeah, so in terms of account sharing, I don't think that's an issue because in terms of our energy system, it's pretty well balanced to support like either like a single player or like people who don't have the time but still want to play. I don't think that's an issue.
Right, or for instance, like you know, you own your own alpha pass or you own your own base pass or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can't afford for all your siblings to play or something like that, but everybody wants to take a turn. I think that is important.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, great. So that's awesome. I guess thank you so much for coming out here with us today. So we're going to start our raffle, guys, on the Yaz extension. You can click to enter the raffle, or if you're not on a PC, you can type in Venari. I'm gonna spam it here so you guys can see. This is what you need to type, well, with the exclamation mark. So I will spam it the correct way, and this is how you enter. So please go ahead and start spamming to enter our contest today, which will give you your scholarship. You can win your scholarship in Legends of Venari, which is, again, it's going to be a fairly expensive scholarship in terms of BGG bucks, guys. We're looking at, you know, somewhere around 1,000 BGG bucks plus, which is quite a few hours of stream watched. It's like well over 100 hours of stream watch. So this is a really good opportunity to get in before anybody else and get on board with the new amazing game that we are partnering up with here. So we're also going to be making a Twitter announcement, and we're going to be creating a section in our Discord for Legends of Venari. And you know, I think we'll have you in that Discord as well, like in the channel there, and you can.
Yeah, sounds good.
If you're around and you see someone asking a cool question or cool comments or whatever, you can always.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Awesome, amazing. Okay, thank you so much for coming out. You know, if you'd like to stick around for the raffle, it's up to you. But usually, you know, we just run it for about 5 minutes and then
Yeah, no worries.
the winners.
All right, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you as well. It's been a pleasure.
All right, I'll see ya. Bye.
Cheers. Okay, guys. So you heard it here first. I mean, who's excited? Like, you know what I mean? This is crazy. This is great. I know I am. I know I can't wait to actually start even playing. Now, personally, I've played Axie. I used to play quite a bit back in the day. And it's fun, but the play to earn mechanic is what drew me to play that game. This is really something great. I'm super excited about it. One last hoya before I let you all go. Oh man, again, thank you so much for coming out, everybody. Mahal Kokayo. Really love all the support, and I cannot wait to be pumping out more scholarships for more games. Axie scholarships even faster. We are just gonna take this straight to the top. Skip the middle, like Teddy says, and go straight to the top. Okay, guys, have a good night. I'll see y'all tomorrow.